You'll be relieved to know this is the last of my little series of videos dedicated to the 5 stars of 55, those 5 major players in the Rangers first team squad who announced their departure from Ibrox at the end of the season just gone. You'll be extra relieved to know that it's also going to be a comparatively short video, not just because it's the weekend, not just because your ears deserve a break from all my yammering, but because it's about Scotty Arfield. And while there's a lot of sentimentality attached to the other 4 departures, with Scott Arfield, there's real regret in there. I don't want to ruin my mood at this time of the week. The skies are opening up all around me in Glasgow just now. It's thunder and lightning, and I feel as if God is joining in with me in my tears, because Scott Arfield, I feel we could have got another season at least out of him. MLS franchise Charlotte FC, their gain is very much our loss. It's also a loss to the host of Scottish and English clubs who are no doubt chasing Scotty's services when it was announced he was leaving Rangers. And that's the thing with Scott Arfield, he could do a job wherever he goes. He's going to be okay. I'm actually more worried about the other 4 departures. I'm not so sure they'll go from strength to strength after leaving Ibrox. Different circumstances, of course. Alan McGregor, 20 years at Rangers all in, that's half of his life, the vast majority of his adult life, and a season that's been marked by big talk, critical talk about his age. Age has caught up with him, absolutely, and it makes you feel really guilty that he has to go out like that. So I spent about 17 minutes talking about Alan's 2 spells at Ibrox to make sure he knows just exactly how much we love him. We remember all the amazing saves that he's made down the years, and how much we appreciate exactly what he did for us in both those spells on and off the park. With Philip Hollander, it's the other side of the same coin. A much younger player at Ibrox for a shorter time, but his actual playing time even shorter, because as a career at Rangers dogged by injury, his entire career has been dogged by injury, and it's that vicious football thing where we can't renew his contract, we have to get him off the wage bill, and it makes you, feel that you have to point out exactly how much you appreciated him. He was a magisterial defender when he was on the pitch for Rangers, and he played a vital part in that seminal league title we won in 2020-21. With Ryan Kent, it's slightly different. His heart's been in a different place for most of this season. Turns out it was Istanbul. He's off to Fenerbahce. But I think with Ryan, I was talking more to other Rangers fans who are accusing him of being at the heart of this malaise. Him and Alfredo Morelos, I think, from the playing staff. You took your eye off the ball after 55, the banner said, and that was directed at the boardroom. But there's this feeling that after 55, we went backwards, and that's probably true, but I'm trying to point out that it's actually only natural. There was such an obsession with winning 55, with Rangers becoming league champions once again, an obsession amongst the support, amongst the players, amongst the directors, that when we did actually get there, the upheaval, the emotional upheaval that we felt in 2012 through the disaster financially back then, was kind of mirrored with the uplift, the actual joy, the sheer relief that we felt in 2021 when we finally secured that title. So it's almost natural, as I say, that there's going to be a little bit of a reaction in the following season, or maybe the following 2 seasons. And I was also trying to point out that we did get to a European final the following season. So if that's a malaise, I'll take a bit of that most seasons. I have to say that when it comes to Alfredo Morelos, it's more difficult to make a case for him. His head's been in other places at various times during his Rangers career, but this season it has completely gone from the word go, and his stomach started to follow it. It was all over the place too. But I was trying to point out that it's okay to both love and hate Alfie, because he was a singular character, very much suited to a singular time in Rangers history, and he really helped get us through those stages of trying to get into second place in the league, and then try to get into first place and try to do something in Europe as well. And I'm not so sure that Alfie's going to go from strength to strength. He's, kind of getting towards his late 20s now, and if he's been as unprofessional as he was through much of his Rangers career, I really fear for him wherever he goes from now on. But I hope he does well. With Scotty Arfield, as I say, that is not a problem. From the moment he arrived at the club in 2018, Steven Gerrard put him top of his shopping list. He'd been at Burnley. He was just coming up to 30 years old when he arrived at Ibrox. Scott Arfield had done it. He'd played in one of the top leagues in the world, and he'd performed admirably there for Sean Dyche's Burnley. And there he was, just saying, "I want to be part of 55. I want to be part of bringing the league title back to Ibrox." Obviously, a good Rangers man, and he did that. It took us a few seasons, but one of the most iconic wins in that first season Scott Arfield was there was that New Year win, or New Year-ish, against Celtic, the first time we'd beaten Celtic in the league for years. Ryan Jack scored the only goal of the game, but one of the iconic moments was Scott Arfield winning a 50-50, winning a drop ball with Scott Brown, who'd been painted over the past few seasons against Caixinha and Murty's Rangers teams as an all-out winner, and a guy who had the street smarts and the physical strength, the combative nature that nobody at Rangers could deal with. Scott Arfield won that 50-50, no problem. They went in there for a wee Bruni style go just to mock him and start the bullying going the other way, just to let them know we're going to change the Old Firm dynamic. The other Old Firm game played at Ibrox that season, we win that 2-0. The league was already gone, but we're putting down a marker. James Tavernier scores a free kick early on. Scotty Arfield, end of a beautiful move. Remember, Glenn Kamara, lovely football, plays a great ball through to Jermaine Defoe, the dummy of the century from Jermaine Defoe, and on goes Scotty Arfield to slot it away and give us the old salute celebration, which in itself became an icon of the Rangers support. Absolutely magical stuff. Following season, we're getting into Europe at this point as well. One thing he did, Scott Arfield, one thing I'll really remember him from, it kind of sums him up, is our first game back in European group stage football. First UEFA group stage since the travails of 2012. We've got through those 4 qualifying rounds, and he's a big part of that. That was epic just to get us back into a group stage. The very first game is against Villarreal and El Madrigal, and we're a goal down after seconds, after less than a minute. To, is it Carlos Boca, the Colombian who'd played for Milan and had scored in the Europa League final for Sevilla. And you're thinking, we've taken this too far. We've got to a level that's just beyond us. This is too much too soon. Scotty Arfield equalises. We draw the game 2 each, and we didn't go through at the end of it. We made a real fist of that campaign. When we get into the 55 season, Scott Arfield is at the heart of everything. I think he's 7 league goals during that campaign. And you think about him scoring against Galatasaray. That was the COVID season. The stadiums were shut. Just one leg, the qualifying rounds for Europe that time. Only played 3, but the final one, the crucial one, was against a very small club, Galatasaray. Scotty Arfield opens the scoring at Ibrox on the night. We win the game 2-1. We get into the group stages. He's scoring against Benfica, the mighty Benfica, come to Ibrox. Scotty Arfield opens the scoring to enable us to get a draw from that game. And then he scores the winner against Standard Liège, another epic at Ibrox. We win that game 3-2. He gets the last goal of the game to enable us to finish top of that group. He's just taking the club forward with everything he does, the Scotty Arfield. And I know he's got to an age now, where he's going to be 35 in November, I think it is. So people are thinking, well, that's not the kind of player we need. We need youth. Todd Cantwell's coming, Nico Raskin, look at these guys. But you need people who understand the club as well. Scott Arfield instinctively understood Rangers. He was always scoring against Livingston as well, wasn't he? He was always scoring goals against Livy, and he came from that part of the world. I think this season sums him up. He scores in the Scottish Cup against Raith Rovers. He scores in the League Cup against Queen of the South. He comes off the bench at Pittodrie when we're losing the game, and he scores 2 goals in injury time to turn a loss into a victory. This is what Scott Arfield was still bringing to Rangers just months ago. He scores the final goal in a 3-0 win over Bayer Leverkusen, that friendly, which was actually Michael Beale's first game in charge. And while we have the likes of Kent and Morelos, they went through their little spells where they looked disinterested because they felt they were better than what Rangers could offer them. They felt they were better than all these trips to Livingston and what have you. They felt as if they deserved to be playing in a top league. But there's Scott Arfield, a guy who had played in a top league and didn't condescend to anybody. He gave his all in any game, anytime. He scored in a Scottish Cup semi-final against Celtic. He equalised, and we went on to win the game in extra time and win the Scottish Cup for the first time in a decade. A magical moment. But that same season, he also scored in the League Cup semi-final at Hampden against Hibs in a game that turned into a total embarrassment for us. He was trying to retrieve that. He scores in the season just past, our first goal in the Champions League group stage. A nightmare night against Liverpool, a nightmare campaign. But Scotty Arfield's in there, at least making sure we got a goal on board. Tab would get another one against Ajax later on. He's that kind of player. He's somebody that you can just totally rely on. And the enthusiasm that he showed, he's a character. I hate that phrase. Scotty Arfield, the fact I keep calling him Scotty, you can't say Scott Arfield because we all love him so much. He's Scotty because he's bouncy, because he is bubbly, and all those horrible cliches that can sometimes cover up a complete lack of dedication and a complete lack of ability. Opposite case with Scott Arfield, he wasn't a character. He had character. He has character. He brought real substance to Rangers. He came as a number 10, a forward-going midfielder. That became his kind of staple. He was an attacking midfielder. And he never wore the number 10, he wore the number 37, and we all know why. Dedicated to a young teammate in his early days at Falkirk, who tragically lost his life in a horrible accident at the Falkirk training ground. And even when he was going backwards, even when he's kind of losing his pace, he never lost his touch, and he certainly never lost his nous, Scott Arfield. The celebrations, he scored in that Scottish Cup game, I think it was against Raith Rovers this season, he goes up and he's celebrating wildly with Todd Cantwell. He wants the new guys to do well. There's no bitterness there, there's no bitchiness going on. You've all seen the stuff in the papers recently where he's pal's wedding, and instead of just doing the usual best man speech, Scotty whips out the guitar and starts playing him a song, singing a song that he wrote. That's the kind of substance he's got in life, and he brought that to Rangers. He had the character that we had before 2012. He had it in him. He's one of those people who was a Ranger by nature, and he brought it to Rangers, and he affected it on the park. I remember wee things like the game against Motherwell at Fir Park towards the tail end of the season. We got to Seville, we got to the final of the Europa League. The league was already effectively over. We're 1-0 up really quickly, then Balogun gets sent off. Big Leon Balogun gets sent off just after about half an hour. Motherwell equalised quickly afterwards. The game's going against us. It's going to ruin our chi in this European campaign. And Scotty Arfield, as we're kind of messing about with the lineup, obviously, and we're taking a bit of pace off the park. Scott Arfield just goes up front and basically becomes the front line. And he just guides us from a situation where the momentum's completely against us. We won that game 3-1. I think Scott Arfield went off after 60 odd minutes, maybe 70 minutes. But by the time he went off, the pattern of the game had changed again. He dragged us back into that game. We dominated it. We won 3-1 despite being a man down. That game at Tynecastle at the beginning of the season just over, where we won 4-0, still under Gio. And he's gone up front and he's laying off the ball. He's playing the ball into the path of Antonio Cholak to score goals. It was his nous, his savvy, his tactical knowledge was absolutely first class. I hate talking about him in the past tense, because the one thing with Scott Arfield is he said he will be back at Rangers in some capacity. You better be, Scotty, because Saturday nights just won't be the same without you. All the best, Scott.